Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Wednesday and welcome back to Divination Meditation, where we look at a tarot card, an agam, and a rune to see just what the universe might be trying to tell us. So let us begin. Our tarot card for this week is the King of Wands, and you can see the kitty's doing very well for themselves, having a good old time with that toy. And if you look very closely at the curtain, you'll notice that there are crowns everywhere, and there's no coincidence about that. This card is about assuming personal sovereignty, knowing that it is you who are in charge, you have agency, you have the right of self-determination. It's also about ambition, and of course, with ambition comes an intense drive to need to actually achieve something. So this is a very goal-setting and goal-accomplishing kind of card. It's a let's gather our energy and let's go out and let's do something. Now for the agam. This week we have, if you can see, Muin, which means vine. And it refers to introspection and outer sight, interestingly. And if you have grown vines or you've interacted with vines, you'll notice that the way that they grow, they kind of twist around, curly-cue, go in and out. And that's very much the energy that is represented in this agam, about being able to weave in and out of ourselves to be able to get a better and clearer idea of what's actually going on around us. And then for our rune, we have Fehu, which represents cattle, wealth, and possessions. Because keep in mind, in ancient societies, livestock, things of that nature, that is what wealth was, because that was your capacity to be able to provide for yourself, your family, and indeed your community. So the more you had of the cattle, the better off that you were. And it's similar today. It's about what resources do we have at our disposal. And of course, most often this does refer to our actual literal physical monetary resources, but it can sometimes refer to our resources within ourselves. You can inherit all the money in the world, but if you don't have the inner will to actually manage that money and use it to good purpose, well, it'll be easy come, easy go. This happened to a lot of people. So having that capacity within ourselves to know how to use what we have, whether we have a great deal or very, very little, is something that's quite valuable to us. So what do we think with all of these three things just kind of sitting in the same plate together? Because we've got a very ambitious, I hate to keep you on using the word sovereignty, but there isn't a better word for it. We have the idea of someone who knows that they are in charge of themselves and that they are in charge and that it is their decision making and their choices that is ultimately going to forge their lives. They aren't someone who farms out decisions to other people and it's definitely not someone who just yields to someone who says, I'm an authority figure, because this represents the mindset of, you and what army? I think it's important for us to have that attitude and to be able to cultivate that within ourselves, because until we take that kind of self-ownership, we will never be able to truly accept responsibility for both our successes and our failures and everything that lies in between. And with the agam Muin, with that introspection and the outer sight, that vine that twists and weave around, I think that is playing very much into this idea of, if you are going to be a ruler over yourself, you are going to have to be able to switch perspectives like that. I remember a quote, actually it was from a movie in the late 90s. It was Anna and the King. It had Jodie Foster and Chow Mung Fat, I think it was. And she was playing Anna Leon Owens, and she was teaching the king's son a particular lesson. She said that most people don't see the world as it is, they see it as they are, and a good king needs a broader view. And this explained to the prince about why his father had hired an English school teacher to educate him. And I think that's a very good principle for the rest of us to keep in mind, because most people are seeing the world as a reflection of who they are. They are not actively seeking out a broader perspective to have a more accurate interpretation of what's going on. Of course, no one can know it all, but we can certainly improve ourselves to have that better idea, and having a better idea of what's actually going on with people. How does the world actually work? What is reality? What are those things that stay exactly the same regardless of anyone's wishes or fears? Being able to identify that to the best of our ability is also going to feed into our capacity to rule ourselves. And when we think of of Fehu in relationship to both our tarot and our Argam, I find myself split because it could possibly be referring to the rewards of taking on this idea of self-ownership and doing the work necessary to make that happen, of saying you are going to be better off, you are going to be wealthier in wisdom. You might even be wealthier in the literal sense just because you are starting to be someone who is being proactive, someone who is out there making decisions rather than just reactive and waiting for life to happen to them. But I also wonder if perhaps it's referring to a kind of obligation that if you own yourself and you know that to the core of your being, if you are trying to cultivate that ability to see what is as well as what could be, that also comes with the responsibility of managing what's going on around you. Sometimes I think the issue that people have, it's not so much that they're too focused on trying to get their own way. I think a lot of people don't actually understand what they want that way to be, because even when a lot of people, if they get what they want, they're still intensely dissatisfied. They don't have the sense of, I've been arranging my life and my grand affairs in such a way that I like and appreciate. They just know that they're dissatisfied with the status quo. So I think that does say something. I think that does say about learning how to define what it is that you want and learn how to nurture that and cultivate it and actually pursue it and bring it into reality. And that's part of that responsibility of forging your own fate and creating the life that you are wanting to have. It does require a considerable act of will, and a lot of people just because of the way they were raised, because of cultural influences, they're not up to it, at least not right now. However, the great thing about ourselves is that even though I do believe that we are born with a particular nature. And I don't think that we're blank slates, and I don't think that anyone could just be completely interchangeable with anybody else. I think we all have our limitations, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, we have our natural aptitudes, and we have our natural lack of aptitudes. But that being said, we can work with what we have. We can develop ourselves, not only by identifying our strengths, but we can see how we can progress and work on our weaknesses. Even though the ceiling on how much we can improve that might be, a tad low, it'll be better off than just leaving it at factory settings, you might say. So we can change things about ourselves. We can learn to have a little bit more of to wear our crown, so to speak. We can learn to assert ourselves, even though that's going to come more easily to some people than it will to others. But I think the overall message from these runes is to, have a little bit of courage, take some heart, and have a little confidence in ourselves. We are not stuck in one mode, and there are benefits to us growing and changing and seeing what can be done. So that's the general impression I've got of this. If you have other thoughts on this particular reading, I would love to hear all about them. You could join us at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below. And as I also mentioned in our Journey Through the Tarot video for today, there is a specific divination channel on the Blackbird's Brew server. So if you are specifically wanting to talk about tarot, divination, or anything of that nature, you can make yourself known there and proceed accordingly. In the meantime, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Like the comment, leave a comment, and like the video. There we go. I can talk. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.